312 days have passed since the notification that ended my marriage. I know because I check the date on my phone every morning, calculating how long I've been living in this shoebox apartment in Akron, how far I've fallen from my colonial in Hudson. The Venmo app stares back at me from the screen, still installed, never opened, a digital gravestone for the life I destroyed with one stupid payment. Thanks for last night, $412, the price of an expensive dinner that cost me everything. People think affairs are discovered through lipstick on collars or strange perfume or working late too often. Nobody tells you it can end with a notification on your husband's phone while you're in the shower washing off another man's touch with expensive body wash you bought with joint account money. Let me tell you how Sophia Winters became the cautionary tale every wife in northeastern Ohio shares over wine. How I went from PTA secretary and successful real estate agent to the woman whose affair went viral in the suburbs. How technology made cheating easier and getting caught inevitable. Greg and I had been married 14 years. Not unhappy years exactly. Just years. We'd built a good life in Hudson. The schools were excellent, the commute to Cleveland manageable, the neighbors friendly but not intrusive. Greg worked in medical device sales. I sold houses to families upgrading from starter homes. We had 2 kids, a dog, a finished basement. The American dream, mortgage payment by mortgage payment. The problem with dreams is that sometimes you wake up. It was January when I met Alex. A bitter cold Tuesday, the kind where the wind cuts through your coat like accusations. I was showing a house in Peninsula, a contemporary that had been sitting on the market too long because the sellers thought exposed brick was worth an extra $100,000. Alex was the buyer's attorney. Younger than Greg by maybe 5 years, with that carefully disheveled look that suggested he'd rather be anywhere but a law office. While his client nitpicked about the inspection report, we made small talk by the granite island the sellers had installed thinking it would seal the deal. "Rough market?" he asked, nodding at my folder thick with comparables. "Rough sellers. They think this place is Tribeca instead of Peninsula." "Maybe if you squint." He smiled, and a switch flipped somewhere in my chest, a gear engaging without my permission. "Though I've seen worse delusions." Last week I had a client who thought their shed added $50,000 in value. Was it a nice shed? It had character. And possibly tetanus. I laughed harder than the joke warranted. He noticed, I noticed him noticing, and suddenly the kitchen felt smaller despite its open floor plan. The closing took 3 months of negotiation, 3 months of emails that started professional and drifted toward personal, 3 months of looking forward to meetings about earnest money and repair credits because it meant 60 minutes in a conference room with someone who made me remember I was more than a mortgage and a carpool schedule. "We should celebrate," Alex said after the papers were signed, commission checks distributed, another American dream officially transferred. "Drinks? You earned it, dealing with those sellers." "I shouldn't," I said, already knowing I would. "1 drink. Consider it a professional thank you." Professional? That's what I told myself driving to the bar he suggested in Cuyahoga Falls, halfway between respectability and mistake. Just 2 colleagues decompressing after a difficult transaction. Nothing Greg would object to if he knew, which he didn't because I didn't mention it. First, red flag, ignored like a decoration. 1 drink became 3. 3 became dinner. Dinner became sitting in his car in the parking lot, talking until the windows fogged like guilty consciences. "I should go," I said at midnight, not moving. "Should you?" He touched my wedding ring, spun it gently. "When's the last time you had a conversation that wasn't about kids or listings?" That's not fair to Greg. I'm not trying to be fair to Greg. I'm trying to understand why you're still here. I went home and slipped into bed beside my husband, who mumbled, "How'd it go?" without waking. The guilt sat in my stomach like bad sushi, but underneath it, something else. Excitement. The flutter of being seen as Sophia, not Mom or Honey or the lady who sold the Craftsman on Maple Street. The affair began in earnest 2 weeks later. A Wednesday afternoon, Greg at work, kids at school, me supposedly at a showing that had been canceled. Alex lived in a loft downtown, all exposed brick and modern fixtures, the kind of place I'd have loved at 25 before I learned that character meant drafty and industrial meant no storage. "This is crazy," I said, watching him pour wine at 2 p.m. "The best things usually are." It became our pattern. Wednesday afternoons in his loft, justified by my flexible schedule and his ability to work remotely. I'd park 3 blocks away, take the stairs, delete our texts before driving home. I thought I was being careful. I thought I was being clever with cash withdrawals and buying my own drinks and never ever leaving a paper trail. But affairs in 2024 aren't about paper. They're about pixels. The Venmo thing started innocently. We'd go to lunch after our afternoons, nothing fancy, just the Thai place near his building or the sandwich shop that made their own mozzarella. He'd always pay cash, insisted on it, said letting me pay would make him feel like a kept man. "This is the 21st century," I teased one day when he realized he'd forgotten his wallet. "I can buy my own pad thai." "Your money's no good here," he said, already pulling up his phone. "I'll Venmo you later." "Greg checks our statements, just let me—" "So I'll send it to your personal account." "You do have your own Venmo, right? Or does Greg control that too?" The dig at Greg annoyed me enough that I pulled out my phone, showed him my account. Sophia Winters, 1983, because I lacked imagination and thought birth years made passwords memorable. "There," I said as his $40 appeared in my balance. "Happy? You've maintained your masculine provider status." "Ecstatic. My fragile ego remains intact." We laughed about it, this little digital dance around who paid for lunch. It became a joke. Him Venmoing me increasingly ridiculous amounts with increasingly innocuous labels. For consulting services. Book recommendation fee. Parking meter charity. Always public transactions because private ones, we reasoned, looked suspicious. "People who hide things look guilty," Alex said once, sending me $12 labeled half of terrible salmon roll adventure. "Aren't we hiding things? We're being discreet." There's a difference. I accepted his logic because I wanted to. Because every Wednesday when that notification popped up, it felt like a secret handshake. Our little rebellion against the algorithm hiding in plain sight where anyone could see if they knew how to look. Spring arrived, and with it, a recklessness. We got bolder, stupider. Lunches became dinners when I could manufacture excuses. The loft became hotels when we wanted to feel like different people. The Sheraton in Independence, the Marriott in Beechwood, always suburbs away from anyone who might recognize us. Always separate checks, always cash, or the one credit card Greg didn't monitor. "This is getting expensive," I said one night in May, calculating that I'd spent $300 on my half of rooms and dinners that month. "Then stop," Alex challenged, knowing I wouldn't. "You could contribute more than just Venmo lunch money." What happened to Miss Independent? Ms. 21st Century? She realized hotel rooms are pricey when you're maintaining a double life. He laughed, pulled me closer. "Fine. Next time's on me, but I'm paying how I want to pay." I should have asked what that meant. Should have paid attention to the glint in his eye that suggested mischief, but I was distracted by his hands and his mouth, and the way he made me forget I had homework to supervise in 2 hours. The next time was a Thursday. Already breaking pattern because Greg had a dinner meeting and the kids had sleepovers. Alex texted that he'd made reservations somewhere special. "Where?" I asked. "Trust me." I drove to Cleveland, following his directions to a restaurant I'd mentioned wanting to try months ago, the kind of place with a waiting list and small plates that cost large prices. The hostess knew his name, led us to a corner table with a view of the city lights. "Alex, this is too much." "Nothing's too much for you." He ordered champagne, the real stuff, not the Prosecco I'd grown accustomed to at suburban dinner parties. "Besides, I told you, tonight's on me." "I can't let you—" "You can and you will." No arguments, no sneaking off to pay when I'm in the bathroom. Just let someone take care of you for once. The bill had to be $400. When it came, he barely glanced at it, just smiled and pulled out his phone. "What are you doing?" "Paying, like I promised." "They take cards here, Alex." "Or that ancient thing called cash. Where's the fun in that?" He typed quickly, hit send with a flourish. "There. Paid in full." "You didn't just—" "Venmo request sent. Check your phone." I pulled it out, saw the notification. $412 requested from Alex Cunningham-esque. My stomach dropped. "Alex, no. That's too much, and Greg might see? I thought you had your own account, your own money, your own life." "I do, but—" "Then what's the problem?" "Unless you've been lying about how independent you are, unless Greg does monitor everything." It was a challenge wrapped in concern, manipulation dressed as care. Pay the request and prove I was the woman I claimed to be. Refuse and admit my marriage was a cage I'd decorated but couldn't escape. "Fine," I said, pulling up Venmo with hands that shook slightly. "But the description better be innocent." "Already done." "Check it." I looked at the request. "Thanks for dinner." "Alex, a heart? Really? What, friends can't use hearts? It's 2024, Sophia. Emojis aren't evidence." "Change it." "Too late. Already sent. Just approve it and stop being paranoid." I sat there in that beautiful restaurant with that beautiful man, finger hovering over approve. $400 was a lot, but I had it. Commission from the last sale, sitting in my checking account, waiting to be spent on something practical like new gutters or the kids' summer camp. "I'm waiting," Alex said, sipping champagne. "Unless you'd rather we go back to me paying cash for everything like it's 1952. I hit approve. The money transferred instantly, silently, irrevocably. "See?" He raised his glass. "Was that so hard?" We went back to his loft. I told myself I was celebrating my independence, my ability to make my own financial decisions. Really, I was trying to fuck away the feeling that I'd just made a terrible mistake. I got home at 1 a.m. Greg was asleep, the dinner meeting having apparently exhausted him. I deleted the Venmo notification, cleared my email, considered deleting the app entirely. But that would look suspicious if Greg ever did check. Better to leave it, buried among legitimate transactions. Babysitter payments, splitting lunch with mom friends, normal suburban mom money transfers that definitely didn't include $400 dinners with men who weren't my husband. The next morning was Friday. Greg up early for a workout, me pretending to sleep while anxiety gnawed at my stomach. He kissed my forehead before leaving, same as every morning, no indication he'd seen anything. I checked my phone, the transaction still there in my Venmo feed, but no texts from Greg, no missed calls, no indication my world was about to implode. I made it to 10:47 a.m. I was in the shower, luxuriating in the expensive shampoo I'd started buying because Alex mentioned he liked the smell. Hot water washing away the worry, convincing myself I'd gotten away with it. Greg was at work, the kids were at school. The Venmo request was just one transaction among thousands happening every second. Nobody would notice, nobody would care. My phone buzzed on the bathroom counter, then buzzed again, and again. The insistent rhythm of someone who wasn't going to stop calling until I answered. I turned off the water, reached for my phone with pruny fingers. 14 missed calls from Greg, 6 texts. The last one just said, "I know." My legs gave out. I sat on the bathroom floor, towel wrapped around me like armor that couldn't protect against what was coming. I called him back with shaking fingers. "Greg!" I saw it. His voice was deadly calm, the tone he used with difficult clients before destroying their negotiations. "The Venmo request. Thanks for dinner, with a heart. It's not $412, Sophia, for dinner, with someone whose name I've never heard. He's a colleague. We closed a difficult deal and—" "Stop." The calm cracked, raw pain bleeding through. Just stop. I called the restaurant. They confirmed the reservation. Table for two, corner booth, champagne. My mind raced for explanations, excuses, anything that might minimize the damage. It was a professional dinner. He's an attorney I work with. An attorney you've been meeting every Wednesday afternoon? Yes, I know about that too. Your phone syncs to the iPad, Sophia. I've been watching your location for weeks, hoping I was wrong, hoping there was an explanation. The floor tilted. He'd known, been watching, letting me lie while he collected evidence like the good salesman he was, building his case before the confrontation. How long? He asked. Greg. How long? Since January? Silence, then, in our bed? No, never. I would never. Oh, you have boundaries? How thoughtful. You'll fuck another man, but not in our marital bed. What a comfort. Please, can we talk about this? I'll come home, we can... I'm already home. Took the day off after seeing that request. Wanted to be here when you got out of the shower, washing his smell off you. That's not... The kids are at my mother's. I told them you had a work emergency. They don't need to know their mother is... He stopped, composed himself. Pack a bag. Stay somewhere else tonight. We'll talk tomorrow about next steps. Greg, please. It was a mistake. We can work through this. A mistake? Sophia, I have 3 months of location data showing you at an address downtown. I have credit card charges at hotels. I have a $400 Venmo request with a heart emoji from a man whose Instagram is full of photos of downtown loft living and expensive dinners. His voice broke. How stupid do you think I am? You went through our accounts, our marriage, our life, which you apparently decided to share with someone else. I heard papers shuffling. What are you doing? Printing. Screenshots, bank statements, your Venmo history. Amazing how much evidence of an affair you can compile in 2 hours when you're motivated. Evidence? Greg, we're not in court. We're married. We have children. We were married. Past tense. As for the children, they'll be fine. Kids are resilient. Unlike trust. He hung up. I sat on the bathroom floor, dripping and shaking, calling back repeatedly. Straight to voicemail. Texts undelivered. He'd blocked me. 14 years of marriage reduced to a blue bubble that would never be read. I drove to Hudson on autopilot, some delusional part of me thinking if I could just see him, just explain. But when I pulled into our driveway, his car was gone. A suitcase sat on the porch with a note. 1 week's worth. We'll arrange getting the rest later. Don't contact the kids yet. -G. Inside, the house felt wrong. Too quiet, but also somehow accusatory. Like the walls knew what I'd done. I wandered from room to room, seeing evidence of the life I'd risked everywhere. Family photos, kids' art on the refrigerator, the coffee maker still warm from Greg's morning cup. My phone buzzed. Alex! Hey, beautiful. Weird charge on my statement from last night. Did the restaurant double bill? Can you check if they took the Venmo and charged my card? I stared at the text. He didn't know. Had no idea that his casual request, his power play about paying, had just detonated my life. Greg saw the Venmo, I typed. Saw what? Your request from last night, he knows. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, shit. Sophia, I'm sorry, I didn't think. You put a heart emoji. It's just an emoji. Everyone uses them. Not for $400 dinner payments between a married woman and a single man. What can I do? Should I call him? Explain it was just work? Just work, like the past 4 months had been a business transaction, like the hotels and the loft and the way he made me feel 25 again were billable hours. Don't contact him. Don't contact me, just don't. Sophia, come on, we can figure this out. There's no we, Alex. There never was. There was just me, ruining my life for weekday afternoons and expensive dinners. That's not fair. What we have... I blocked him mid-sentence. Whatever we had wasn't worth what I'd lost. The story broke in our social circle within hours. Greg, in his pain and fury, had told his brother. His brother told his wife. His wife, who'd never liked me, told everyone. By evening, my phone was lighting up with texts from people I hadn't heard from in months, suddenly concerned about my well-being. Heard about you and Greg? Here if you need to talk. Translation: tell me everything so I can gossip about it. So sorry about everything. Men are trash. From a woman whose husband I'd shown houses to, fishing for confirmation it was Greg's fault. Is it true about the attorney? The Venmo thing? At least Patricia had the decency to be direct about her nosiness, but the worst were the screenshots. Someone, Greg's sister-in-law probably, had found my Venmo profile. Public transactions tell stories if you know how to read them. There I was, a breadcrumb trail of adultery in $10 and $20 increments. Lunches that corresponded with Wednesday afternoons, drinks that matched my book club nights, and there, like a neon sign at the end, the $400 request that broke the camel's back. Busted by Venmo, someone had captioned the screenshot on Facebook. This is why I keep my transactions private, ladies. 67 reactions, 42 comments. My affair had become suburban entertainment, a cautionary tale shared between wine sips and judgment. I deactivated my Facebook, turned off my Instagram. But screenshots live forever, passed from phone to phone like digital herpes. By Sunday, even my mother had seen them. Sophia Marie, what were you thinking? She didn't wait for pleasantries when I answered her call. A Venmo request? With a heart? Have you lost your mind? Mom. Don't mom me. I'm looking at a screenshot your cousin sent. $400 for dinner with a man who isn't your husband. How could you be so stupid? I didn't think Greg checked. That's your defense? You didn't think you'd get caught? Not that you shouldn't have done it, but that you should have been sneakier about it? She was right. That was exactly my defense. Not remorse for the affair, but regret about the method of discovery. Not shame for cheating, but fury for leaving digital evidence. I had treated my marriage like a business transaction, and I was angry I'd made a clerical error. Your children, Sophia. Did you think about them? Brittany already saw something on Snapchat, 13 years old and learning about her mother's affair from classmates. My stomach heaved. What? Oh yes, your little Venmo scandal made it to the middle school. Kids screenshotting and sharing, your daughter came to me in tears. Is she okay? Can I talk to her? Absolutely not. Greg's right to keep them away while you sort out your mess. Those babies don't need to see their mother like this. Babies. Brittany was 13, Josh 11. Hardly babies. But in my mother's eyes, in Greg's eyes, in my own eyes now, they were innocents I'd failed to protect from my own selfishness. Alex tried reaching out through mutual professional contacts, messages about needing to talk, to explain, to figure out next steps, as if there were steps beyond the cliff I'd already driven off. I ignored them all until he showed up at an open house I was hosting in Stowe. We need to talk, he said, standing in the doorway of a 4-bedroom colonial that suddenly felt too small. Please leave. I'm working. So am I. I'm here as an interested buyer. He smirked, that same expression that used to charm me and now made me nauseous. Nice neighborhood. Good schools. Perfect for starting over. What do you want? To know you're okay. To figure out what we're doing. We aren't doing anything. I'm getting divorced because of a Venmo request you sent. My kids won't talk to me. I'm sleeping in my sister's guest room. Does that sound okay to you? It was just bad timing. It was an affair. The Venmo was just how we got caught. So we got caught. So what? Now we can stop sneaking around. Be together properly. I stared at him. This man I'd risked everything for, standing in a stranger's kitchen talking about being together properly like we were starring in some romantic comedy instead of a suburban tragedy. "I have a showing at 2, I said. "Please leave." "Sophia, leave or I'll call the police. Trespassing should look great on your bar review." He left, but not before saying, "This isn't over." He was wrong. It was over before the Venmo request. Over the moment I decided Wednesday afternoons mattered more than 14 years. The notification just made it official. The divorce was swift and brutal. Ohio is an equitable distribution state, but adultery factors into the equation, especially when there's financial proof of marital assets being spent on affairs. Every hotel charge, every dinner, every Venmo transaction became evidence of dissipation. I kept the house, barely, but had to buy out Greg's equity. My savings evaporated, my credit cards maxed out trying to maintain a life built for 2 incomes. "You could sell," my lawyer suggested. "Downsize, fresh start." But I was stubborn, refused to give up the house my children had grown up in, thinking if I could just keep their rooms the same, they'd eventually come home. Eventually forgive me. They didn't. Brittany refused to see me for 3 months. When she finally agreed to a supervised visit at a neutral location, she looked older. Teenage spite mixed with genuine hurt in her eyes. "Everyone knows," she said without preamble. "Everyone at school. They show me the screenshots and laugh." "I'm so sorry, honey." "Zoe's mom said you're a home wrecker." "But you wrecked your own home, so what does that make you?" I had no answer. What do you call a woman who destroys her own family for afternoon delights and expensive dinners? "Dad's dating," she added, watching my face. "Rebecca from his gym. She's nice. Doesn't Venmo request him for dates." Every word was carefully chosen to wound. My 13-year-old had learned cruelty from my example. Josh was easier, still young enough to miss me more than he hated me. But even he asked questions I couldn't answer. "Why did you have dinner with someone else?" "Don't you love Dad?" "It's complicated, sweetie. That's what everyone says when they mean no." From the mouths of babes. The house went on the market in September. I couldn't afford it alone, couldn't bear the echoes of the life I'd demolished. It sold in 2 weeks to a young family, upgrading from their starter home. The wife gushed about the school district, the finished basement, the neighborhood. I wanted to warn her about the price of wanting more, but I just smiled and accepted their offer. I used the proceeds to pay off the divorce settlement and rented an apartment in Akron, far enough from Hudson to avoid running into anyone, close enough to maintain my real estate territory. A 1-bedroom with thin walls and a view of the parking lot. No finished basement, no granite counters, no family to fill it. Alex disappeared after the confrontation at the open house, moved to Columbus, I heard, joined a bigger firm, found a new Wednesday afternoon woman probably, someone else's marriage to complicate with Venmo requests and heart emojis. Greg remarried last month. Small ceremony, family only, which now didn't include me. Brittany was a bridesmaid. Josh carried rings. Rebecca, yes, the one from the gym, became the stepmother who'd never betray them for a $400 dinner and a dopamine hit. They kept the Hudson house. Rebecca moved in, redecorated, made it hers. Brittany mentioned it casually during our monthly dinner, how Rebecca had painted the kitchen the yellow I'd always said would look good but never got around to trying. "She makes Dad happy," Josh added, not meaning to twist the knife but succeeding anyway. "That's good," I said, meaning it and hating that I meant it. "He deserves to be happy." "So do you, Mom," Josh said, reaching for my hand across the Applebee's table. "I am happy," I lied. "Brittany says you can't be happy in a 1-bedroom apartment with no dishwasher." "Brittany's 13. Dishwashers don't determine happiness." But she wasn't wrong. It wasn't about the dishwasher or the square footage or the view of the dumpster. It was about the silence, the absence. The way I still reached for my phone on Wednesday afternoons before remembering there was no one to text. The way I still checked Venmo, scrolling past legitimate transactions looking for something that wasn't there. That's where I am now, 10:47 on a Thursday night, sitting in my apartment that smells like the curry my neighbor made for dinner. My Venmo feed shows my last transaction. Splitting pizza with my sister 2 weeks ago. $22. No heart emoji, no complications. The app offers to show me what my friends are up to. There's Greg paying the babysitter. Always transparent, always public transactions because people with nothing to hide nothing. There's Patricia splitting brunch with the book club I'm no longer invited to join. There's even Alex sending someone named Melissa money for thanks for last night. Some people never learn. But I learned that affairs aren't discovered through lipstick or perfume or working late. They're exposed by the technology we use to simplify our lives. One notification, one heart emoji, one moment of digital carelessness. 14 years demolished by a $400 dinner and the assumption that separate accounts meant separate lives. I close Venmo, consider deleting it again. But I won't. It's my reminder, my digital scarlet letter. Every time I see that app, I remember the notification that ended everything. The price of being clever with cash but stupid with connections. Besides, I need it for legitimate things now. Splitting utilities with my roommate when I eventually can't afford this place alone. Paying back my sister for groceries. Small transactions for a small life, all of them honest, none of them worth what I lost. The truth about modern affairs is that they leave receipts. Digital breadcrumbs that lead back to hotel rooms and downtown lofts and expensive dinners you can't really afford. We think we're being careful, but we're just being recorded. Every swipe, every tap, every transfer building a case against our own happiness. I paid $412 for dinner that night. But the real cost was everything else. The trust, the family, the future I'd planned in that Hudson house with the finished basement. All of it transferred away as easily as money between accounts. Irreversible once you hit send. That's my Venmo story. How Sophia Winters traded a marriage for a digital receipt, a family for a notification, a life for the thrill of seeing thanks for last night pop up on her phone. Some transactions can't be disputed, some transfers can't be reversed, and some women learn too late that the most expensive dinners are the ones you pay for with someone else's trust, an asset you can never buy back. 14 years demolished by a $400 dinner. And the delusion that separate accounts meant separate lives.